All righty. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Seattle 1 Million Cups. Make sure you have your coffee or your tea next to you as we get started. We're in for a lovely presentation today. But before we get involved in that with our guest, Karen, I want to remind you to mark your calendars for every Wednesday at 9 a.m. You will find us here. Even when we're in person, because please note that the second Tuesday of the month, we have a hybrid event, both virtual and in person. So all you really need to know is bookmark the link tree right there. Dan will put it in the chat for you. And that's really how you're going to be able to stay connected with us. You could sign up for our newsletter. You could follow us on Facebook or Instagram and stay connected. And of course, you can sign up for our newsletter. I would recommend that you just mark your calendars and copy that link and put a recurring event in there. That's the easiest way just to stay on top of things. And then if you can't come, you just don't come. But otherwise, at least it's on your calendar and you're ready to go. So again, that link tree is right there on the screen. You'll find on that link tree the Zoom link. It's the same one every Wednesday morning. You can sign up for emails. You can also watch replays. So if you missed a presentation that you really wanted to see, or you hear today's presentation and you're like, oh my gosh, so-and-so needs to see this company, check this out. You can forward the replay onto them. And of course, connect with us on all of the social links directly through that link tree. And that being said, what are we about? Well, we are here as a community to share ideas, to offer support and help each other out by making offers and also asking for support. If you need something, maybe you are doing that, maybe you're doing your pricing strategy for the first time, or you have a budget, but you can't quite figure out some things and you just want somebody to talk to. Or conversely, maybe you're looking for a trademark attorney or some support around a particular area of expertise that you don't have. This is a great community to tap into so that we can support each other and really create a network of support around the entrepreneurs in our respective communities to do what is otherwise quite challenging to do by ourselves, building a great business. And so some things that make us different here, we are about presentations, not pitches. So you're going to get an opportunity to learn about Karen's business today and find out a little bit more about what she's up to. But she's not pitching us for $1 million here, right? That's not the goal of our presentations. It's really just to offer education and insight into a business in our community that's doing great things that we need to know about, in part so that we can connect with them. We're not big fans of the traditional pray and spray, or what is it? Spray and pray networking. That's not our jam. We're here to build deep connections and relationships over time so that we can strengthen our community. And again, remember, we are radically and intentionally inclusive. So please do everything you can to be mindful of people and their situations and circumstances and where they come from and their stories, and own your thing. Let them be themselves, and we'll help each other as a community do what we need to do to continue to be inclusive. Just a reminder, Seattle 1 Million Cups is a national organization, 134 communities, 3,500 attendees across the planet, and 700 plus volunteers going into making sure that this thing operates effectively so that we have the community and the tools that we need. And again, we're here to seek education, presentations, and connections. A lot of great things are said about us. I'm not going to go through this whole slide, but you can see here that we do bring value to the people who choose to be a part of our community and participate in the community. So please remember, again, it's not that you show up once, but that you show up twice, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times, so you can really build that relationship. And also check out some of the other communities. I know, for example, Karen is in Tampa, right? So we've got a guest from the other side of the planet, or at least that side of the United States on the planet, I should say more explicitly. And yeah, so there's chapters throughout the country that you're more than welcome to visit and swing through. And you could even stack it up, right? Because this is 9 a.m. Pacific time, which means that there's a 9 a.m. in every other time zone that you can still make and make this one too, right? So you can do a whole day of it. Reminder, second Wednesday of the month, Same time, it's both in person and virtual. So if you're in the Seattle area or know somebody who is, we are hosted by a place called Expansive. It's in Pioneer Square. It's fairly easy to get to. We do our best to make sure that those of you who are online and joining us virtually have a comparable experience. So we make sure that there's a chat monitor there. We make sure that there's an on-site coordinator. So you will get put up on the screen. So when you do your commercial or ask your questions, people can see you, people can hear you, you can see them. We make sure that the cameras are pointing in all directions. So we're working on making sure that that experience is as positive and dynamic, regardless of whether or not you're in person or virtual. And of course, we couldn't do all that we do without our sponsors. So Method Customization and the McLaughlin Method are two of our sponsors, helping to make sure that the Seattle chapter is up and running with all the resources we need. And then, of course, we have our community of volunteers. You see some of those awesome people on the screen today, but wait, there's a box just for you, right? If you're thinking about joining us, we'd love to have you on the team. It's just a great group of people getting things done and making things happen for the sake of our community. What are we looking for in terms of volunteers? Well, if you have a specific skill or a specific task that you can offer, maybe a one-time thing like, hey, I know you're doing a live event. I wouldn't mind mocking up a quick, email copy for you. That's a one-time contribution. Here you go. Thank you. Or, hey, maybe I know a partner you could work with in the community. One-time tasks are more than welcome. Of course, we also have specific roles. For example, my role today as your host is fairly well organized and subscribed in terms of what we do and how we do it. We also have Dan being our chat monitor today. And of course, just so you know, our chapter, I can only speak for our chapter at this point, is very organized when it comes to roles and slide decks. So we make it super easy for people to jump into these roles and play them well. And if you are interested, please email seattle@1millioncups.com to find out more about what opportunities we have for volunteers. As far as today, what can you expect? Well, we had our coffee and conversation. That was what was just happening when you came in. Now we're going to shift into a 6-minute presentation by our entrepreneur, Karen, and she'll give a 6-minute presentation followed by a 20-minute Q&A. And then we'll move into breakout rooms so we can spend some time together getting to know each other. In terms of your role as a listener during the presentation, please limit distractions, bring your energy and focus to the screen so that Karen knows that she has your full and undivided attention. And then as you're listening, pay attention to what stands out, what's something that really catches your attention. Maybe it's something that you can relate to in your business or something that you're working through. But also, what do you want to learn more about? Maybe Karen shares something you're like, that's curious. I want to understand that more. Ask that question. That's a good question. And then also, where could you share your expertise? But let me be clear about something. This is not a chance for you to say, hey, Karen, here's what you should do with your business. No, we don't need that. But maybe ask a question that highlights an area of expertise that you have. So for example, I come from an accounting background, right? I'm always interested about the number side of the business. So to demonstrate that that's my capacity, I could ask a question like, hey, Karen, can you tell me more about how you planned your budget? I'm really interested in what your strategy is for managing your cash flow, right? You see how me asking that question is an indicator that, hey, maybe that's something that I might know a few things about. I ask it in the form of a question. Karen gets to answer and respond, and then we can have a follow-up conversation if that's appropriate and necessary. And again, remember, no shoulding. We don't know Karen's business like Karen knows her business. So again, ask questions so that you can understand and really help to facilitate a positive experience for all that is listening. And again, please use the feedback raised hand feature if you can. I will queue you up in the Q&A in the order that you pop up on my screen. If you're having trouble finding the button, just feel free to raise your hand and I'll see that and then bring you up on stage when we go into our Q&A. And so today's presentation is by our guest Karen with a company named ObservaMé. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I think I did. I did fail French class, but I do remember the accents. And so Karen, I'm going to stop my screen share and pass it over to you to introduce yourself and lead us through our presentation today.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Good morning and good afternoon for those on the East Coast, and good morning for those on the West Coast. Again, my name is Karen Fultz-Robinson, the owner, founder, and designer of ObservaMé, which is Spanish for Watch Me. And as you notice in the model on the screen, we started out in 2016 with just one design, which are long sleeve garments where you could see your performance devices through your sleeve. What's so exciting about ObservaMé is that we are an American-owned manufacturing facility in Tampa Bay, Florida. We manufacture, design, and distribute by way of e-commerce our full athletic line that we started in 2021. I know you heard 2016. That was the year I started with my patent pending design with the watch opening through the long sleeve garments. But then last year, I decided to stop my full-time practice of law and go full-time into ObservaMé in order to help those who want to try unconventional ways to improve their mental as well as their physical health. As a person who suffers from depression, I found that movement is the key. Why clothing? 80% of the people who say that I want to live healthy fail. So, I'm sorry, 80% of the people have failed at the living healthy, because 79% of them say, I need a better look. I want better clothing. And that's where ObservaMé comes in. We want to encourage individuals to not to continue moving forward. We don't want them to stop in their effort to move towards a healthy living goal. And if we can provide them with the tools by way of clothing, that is what we do. And we also want to put the science behind what you wear in order to ensure that you will come back a second, a third, and a fourth time. So our clothes have sustainable fabrics. We have lifting of your breasts to prevent muscle damage when wearing our sports bras. We have compressed fabrics to ensure that you have endurance, longer endurance, and eliminating fatigue in our compression line for our power collection. So we add a lot of attention to our fabrics, a lot of attention to our designs, and that's because we're here in the United States and able to provide that one-on-one supervising or supervisory as well as support system for what we provide. And on this slide, it goes through all of the things I previously discussed. In addition to these fabrics are moisture wicking. We prevent the additional weight that sweat can add to your fabrics. Again, all of our goals is to take away all of the excuses that we will rely upon to stop reaching our healthy living performance goals. Our target audience are athletes. You are an athlete. Just because you don't have medals on the wall or trophies on your stand does not mean that you are not an athlete. I started out as a couch person and became a marathoner within a year and a half. You can do it too, and I am an athlete. By way of my experience of running races, that is where our design came from, as well as the science behind all of the goals that I want you to achieve by wearing our clothing. I pay attention to the need for pockets in the back of the shirts for fuel, as well as for ID if you're out and want to be hands-free. Our capri pants have two side pockets. We also have jackets that have invisible pockets, anything and everything that you can think of in order to support your goals. Most of the sales that it relates to athletic wear are in the $300 million range, and we are targeting that space in order to capture a part of those revenues. How do we do that? Well, we have gone through print media, television, online marketing, and social media as well. As a result of our efforts, we are known throughout the United States as well as internationally. We can be found on wolfandbadger.com, which sells within the UK and Europe. We have successfully made it into the marketplace on the market.com out of New Zealand. We recently partnered with the Reach Desk out of London to be a corporate partner for corporate gifting. And we're looking to other ways to be in the marketplace around South America and other parts of the world to express the importance of healthy living in all angles. Who are our competitors? Nike and Lululemon, because we are a luxury line of athletic wear, but we stand ourselves apart by our patent design, our sustainability. Because we are a small company, we're able to provide that personal and intimate care to our consumers. and we are USA made and been verified by USAMadeStrong.com. Our profit share in the Q1 has increased by 200% by way of our continued efforts by social media presentation and presence, as well as our online marketplaces internationally and nationally, and our growth continues to go in an upward direction, which is great for small companies. We have a business with a purpose. As I said, our focus is on mental health. So we started a charity, FMF Foundation, where a part of our proceeds are donated to them for the continuation of treatment of mental illness and disease. And what is a quid pro quo? I have to put in the legal term. What do we ask from you? If you can do an organic introduction to other retailers and distributors that can help us grow nationally and internationally is what we seek from you. And with that said, we thank you and feel free to get in touch. There's our QR code, as well as some of our partners within our company here in Tampa Bay, Florida, as well as Georgia. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Karen. Hey, that's beautiful. All right, so now we're going to shift into the Q&A portion, and I know I have some questions, so I'm eager to get started. But before I jump in, if anybody has a gut question that they want to raise their hand and ask, you're welcome to. Otherwise, if I don't see that hand up, I'm going to just dive in. All right, I see Dan. You'll go first, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, and then she.
Thank you for running us through that, and I had kind of a quick question on that one slide. Do they provide UV block? I know that we don't have to worry about it too much here, but in Florida, I'm sure you have to worry about it. So, right? Okay, good. I assumed, I just didn't see that on the slide. But I was wondering also, you had said that like you're looking to work with retailers or wholesalers. And as far as a competitive market, I'm not sure if you're interested in other independent manufacturers that kind of hone in on the sustainable athletic wear like you're doing. I was just thinking about, for example, in the Seattle area, the local sustainability athletic wear manufacturer is called 512. I'm not sure if you're looking for examples of what other companies are doing as well, if that would be helpful or not.
I'm going to go back to the first question, then I'll answer the second question. We do have two of our particular fabrics selected with UV protection incorporated into the weave of the fabric. So we do have that in our high vis as well as our forest green colors. Though in any style where they're available, you will get that additional benefit of the UV protection, but it's not in all of our fabrics. I think I understand your second question. We are always interested in partnering with companies that have the eye towards sustainability and lessening our carbon footprint on the earth. So for example, we went to a fabric convention in Oregon where we met a number of fabric manufacturers that could source other fabrics that would dovetail perfectly in what we're trying to achieve by way of the final product, the apparel that we're creating. We can incorporate those fabrics to maintain the luxury, maintain the benefits that you receive from wearing them. So long as we continue with those measures in mind or metrics in mind, we can always incorporate other companies into those ideas. In terms of manufacturing, as long as they're within the United States, as long as they meet the criteria that we seek to maintain in terms of sustainability and fair labor, et cetera, and so forth, then we are interested in talking to those companies and learning as well. Because we're new, I tell people I don't know what I don't know. And I'm old enough to recognize that you sometimes open your ears and close your mouth and you will actually learn more and do better.
Shika, your turn.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen, for such a wonderful presentation. I love the name of your company, ObservaMé, Watch Me. And this is not a question, actually. This is just something that I like that. This was my reaction to when you were talking about your product. you know, you did mention that your competitor is Nike, right? And you know, my thought was towards your brand story, where you are trying to motivate people for a healthier lifestyle, right? Like through your brand. But that is also the strong messaging of Nike, a brand like Nike. You know, it is such a huge brand, and you know, I've actually read the book of the person who was the founder of Nike. I'm forgetting his name, Phil something. But somehow I felt that your brand messaging is not overpowering the brand messaging of Nike. Like, if that is your motivation behind your product, which is to motivate people to lead a healthier lifestyle, I don't see how that message becomes stronger than the message that is put across by Nike. Am I making sense? So like,
You
what's
are.
your defense in, I was just like, it's not to defend, like that's how I was feeling. So I was just like, how would you position your brand? You know, because if I was, you know, if you say everyone is an athlete, my first thought will still go to a Nike brand or an Adidas, you know. So how will you position your brand, which comes across as a stronger brand than Nike?
Sure. One, to maintain my authenticity behind our belief system, I don't seek to compete with Nike's message. I seek to compete with my own. And our message is more geared towards mental health than it is physical agility or building muscle or competition against teams or others. The competition is with yourself. Is our focus. And I appreciate your comment, because that means I need to we're better on my message to ensure that I am tapering it to specifically what we want to achieve, which I think is different than what Nike is promoting. They touch on mental health during Mental Health Month, but that's not the premise of their company. So ours is more geared towards, I want to see unconventional ways for people to deal with their mental health issues. And your mental health issues many times result in obesity. It results in a lot of other physical ailments that you have because you are not moving. You are succumbing to that disease that forces you to stay in the home. And then staying in the home results in a lot of other issues: overeating, anxiety. The list just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was a very good point that you made, that it's more directed towards mental health. And then I would say that the brand messaging, like, because you're saying that a clothing can help you resolve your mental health. So I don't know. I feel that there's a little bit more that we can do towards the brand messaging, where that thing comes across more strongly, because that is your strong point. So yeah, that was my comment. Thank you, Karen.
No, thank you. That makes a good point, because that means I need to do better. So thank you.
Thank you. Valerie, and then, I'm sorry, A Settled Mind, remind me what your name was again.
I'm sorry, I just changed it in my account, but it hasn't come up yet. Christy.
Okay, so we'll go Valerie and then Christy. Valerie and then Christy.
Okay, so actually two things. One is that as you were just getting started, I thought that you were going to tell us that you had an app that went with your clothes, so that, you know, the device that people are going to be wearing with the shirt and the whatnot, that there's like a mental health app or a habit tracking app or a, you know, something, and there's a zillion of them out there. So maybe you just find one and you partner with it. But I'm just reflecting back to you that that's where I thought you were going to go. And so I just plot that in as an idea that maybe you know, an app with a device that you expecting them to be wearing with the clothes could be something that you white label, you know, you grab a white label app and you brand it for your own thing or whatever. But that's just an idea. And maybe that's the link between the clothes and the mental health component, is that there's a supportive tool that people are buying into when they purchase your clothes. The second thing is, this is not what you asked for, but it just popped in my mind as far as connections go. This is I don't know if this is too far afield, but I have a connection to a service-based business that they basically do they're a behind the scenes company that supports companies that create any product that might be sewn. So if somebody comes up with an idea for a product, but they don't know how to make the pattern, and they don't know how to design it in a way that would be efficiently manufactured, they will work with the company to like well design that pattern and that manufacturing process so that they can go take it to market. So maybe you've already solved that problem. Maybe you have in-house people that do that. But if you don't, I could make that introduction for you.
Thank you. That sounds like a tech pack maker, a pattern maker, and they create your tech packs in order for you to shop them to different manufacturers.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And then I love your idea about the app. And it's ironic, I met a female-owned company at a conference last week in Atlanta where they have an app. You open it up and allegedly it will take your temperature and know your heart rate. And I think it almost tells you your weight. Something as intimate as that. So I like that idea. And because I was wondering how could I approach that company, but that's a great idea. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Valerie.
Hello, Karen. Well, first, honestly, such an awesome presentation, really inspiring. I just came away with so many ideas, and I love the standards that you're holding for your company, and just really awesome. Especially business with a purpose. That was awesome. I love your message. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of, after the messaging thing, I just wanted to let you know what I came away with, what I felt was really impactful. And that was the taking away the excuses and the impediments. I thought that was amazing. My husband's an athlete, and so I'm always kind of trying to like live a healthy lifestyle because I see it in my house. I'm not as dedicated, if you will. So that really spoke to me about just the excuses that I come up with, and having a company that is listening and caring about that honestly was very impactful for me. So I just wanted to share that in case it was helpful.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan, do you have another question?
Oh, something popped into my head when we were talking about the app. And yeah, it seems like if you had an app on your, that could load onto your smartwatch or whatever watches runners use. I know usually, I feel like most runners I know that you have to have a watch that's like about as big as your wrist. You know, they usually have this giant watch of some type, but yeah, some sort of app that was tracked like the mental health that could be on the watch that they're wearing with your clothes. That'd be pretty cool. It's interesting because like I wear an iWatch, and I actually have a Nike edition, Apple Watch, and all it just means is that it has like it comes with the Nike face loaded onto it, but it's not like it does anything different than any other watch. But if there was an ObservaMé watch that, like actually did something, that would be pretty cool.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. So Karen, I have a couple questions for you because we have a couple more minutes. So I'll ask them both, and then you can like choose your own adventure, right? So I guess the first thing that really stood out for me was you talked about your background, and you said that you've left law to go into e-commerce, retail, fashion, like apparel, right? And I was like, oh, that's a huge jump. So my first question is like, what, maybe if you could give us a little bit more context about like, hey, like why did you choose, like what was the motivation for you to just like skip law or leave law and go into this completely different industry, which I think is actually awesome because it like gives you a unique advantage. So I'm curious what that story is there. And then the second question is more around the marketing side of things. And I'm curious, like, what marketing strategies are really working for you right now, and where are you going to be exploring or deepening your marketing efforts as you step into the remainder of the year? So it's sort of the founder story and the transition, and then the marketing strategy.
Yeah. So the first part of the question, So I practiced law for over 20 years. When I moved to Florida is when I became a marathoner. I started running when I lived in Georgia because I was, to me, overweight. I laugh at that because I went to the doctor last week. They told me I'm still overweight according to the BMI. So that was pretty funny. So I must have been grossly overweight a few years ago and decided to start running as a way to get that weight off, and realized that it was also a medicine for me mentally. And that started, I was so committed to it. So I did a couch to 5K, then I went from 5K to 10K, 10K to half marathon. And then I said I would never do a marathon. I thought people were crazy. Moved to Florida, met some crazy people, and started marathoning, and ran marathons around the world. But realized on a training run that I had to wrap my watch either on my sleeve or tug at my sleeve to get to it. I had to do something to get to it. And I was like, well, why is it that we can't just see it? We got thumb holes, we have all these other holes for your wires for your phone. Why is it that I can't see my watch? So I started sketching something up, called my patent lawyer friend, and he was like, look, I'll run it through the patent office for you, but why don't you just make it yourself? I was like, what? I practice law. So I started found a pattern maker, found a seamstress, found a manufacturing company in Florida, and I was just peddling shirts, quite frankly. I would go to different expos, the Boston Marathon, Detroit Marathon, and buy a booth and start selling shirts and seeing the momentum and the interest and the aha moments out of all of the buyers and consumers and curious people come by. But then the pandemic hit, and I realized I was just basically burned out from practicing law. One of the firms where I was a partner, it has an office in Seattle, and realized I've practiced for over 20 years. I became a professor, went from a professor, became a dean. I was like, okay, I've exhausted that academic route. Where you go next? And I thought, well, I said I wanted to pursue my athletic wear company. And that's when I said, well, here's the time, because Shark Tank always say you can't have two gods, you can't serve two masters. And it's true. When I practiced law and tried to run the shirt company lost every single time. But once I stopped practicing law and I started focusing on this company, it was amazing, the number of things. When you learn, it's a totally different learning curve. I was back at the bottom. I can't say I've never been at the bottom, but it was a long time since I had been at the bottom of anything. And to start at the bottom was very humbling. It teaches me something, and I keep notes. I was just telling my staff today, I keep notes of all my wins, all my learnings, all of my connections, and seeing how the tree and the branches on the tree grow. So it's just been amazing. Marketing. So started with publicists, honestly, because realizing that I know it's a great product, but how do I tell the world it's a great product? I'm not good at social media because I think we use a lot of our social time on a device when we should be talking to the people around us. But I realized that that's where the sales are. The sales are not commercials on TV anymore. The sales are in the hands of the youth, in the hands of adults. If you look at go in the airport and just look around, the number of people looking back at you, you can count on one hand. Everybody else is looking down at their devices. And that's where the sales are. That's where the marketing is. So our publicists do a lot of pitching to online periodicals or publications. So we've made gift lists recently. I was ranked among Nordstrom's and Lululemon as the go-to company for leggings. So we do a lot of gift guides. We do a lot of sending samples to editors to sample our products to be tested and reviewed. Instagram, Facebook boosts. We do, I publish in British Vogue. We do TV spots. One of our products was featured in Arizona on a TV spot for gifting. So we do a lot of marketing in all the areas to try to reach a customer base. Because to the first question's point, we recognize that we are competing with a brand that is a household name, and that's where we want to be. And the only way we're going to do that is if they hear our name over and over and over in many different circles, especially now that we're pitching across the world. We are hoping to do an in-person expo in New Zealand because they won't know we're there if they don't hear about us. So we want to get on the ground in a lot of these different countries, but in an economic way, because I don't want to, the way small businesses fail, at least from the gurus I have talked to and people who offer the should advice, as you said earlier, you fail by trying to scale too fast, or you dump too much money in the wrong area of your business and you fail. And so what I'm doing is just trying to grow in small bites and making sure that we're putting our money in the right places and making sure that I can meet everybody's demand every time it's made. So I hope that answered both.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. Thank you. And so actually we are now coming up on time. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again and get us into a final question for you, Karen. This is the question we ask everybody before we shift and let them go on their merry way. What can 1 million cups, or what can the 1 million cups community do for you, Karen? What's something that would be helpful from this particular group here?
Well, I think you guys have done it really. The commentary, the advice, the recommendations, that's what I look for as a new business owner. Like, because as you mentioned before, I'm not here for money, I'm here to learn. And those comments helped a lot in order to continue to help me hone in on my message, to make sure people understand what we are and who we are and what we're about and why come to me, why shift from your long-term committed company to our company. So, and support us, of course. If you go on our website, see something you like, buy it. That helps too. So recommend it to your friends, recommend it to your family. I tell people all the time, what you can do for me costs you nothing, which is just a recommendation and support.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. So if you haven't been paying attention to this, you'll notice in the chat that Karen's information is there. So please check out the website. Please reach out to Karen if you have any ways that you can support. And of course, go to the website, check out the social media, share, spread, do all the great things to help get the word out. And thank you, Karen, again for your time today. We really do appreciate it so much. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to shift into our breakout rooms in just a moment. So Dan, if you want to go ahead and get those queued up, we'll do 2 breakout rooms. Let's randomize them so it'll be sort of a mystery as to who you end up in the room with. And please, if you can, turn on your video, continue this conversation. If there was anything that sparked your interest that you want to talk about with your colleagues in the space, please feel free to do so. Also, take a moment to introduce yourself, remind people of what you're working on. Maybe you've got a new project you're working on. Maybe you've got a new blog article you just published, anything that you can do to sort of share with people what you're working on, and to see if there's any way that they can support you too. And just a few notes before I send you off into the breakout room, because once we go into the breakout rooms, you won't see me again. And we won't go back to the main room again, and it'll be basically the end of the session. So basically a few notes to keep in mind. We are still looking for presenters for the weeks and months ahead. So if you know an entrepreneur or you yourself want to do a presentation, please go to 1millioncups.com/Seattle. We welcome not just new businesses, but businesses that are pre-existing that have maybe new products or services that they want to try out or experiment and get some feedback on. Again, so if you're trying something new, you're willing to ask for help and you want to learn, please apply to present. One other note on that, if you know an organization that works with groups of entrepreneurs, please introduce them to us. We have a couple of examples where we've been able to basically source entrepreneurs from their networks to bring them into this space to create the opportunity for them to pitch in this space as well. Again, please spread the word. We are also, again, reminder, looking for volunteers. So if you have a specific skill set or task that you want to lend to us temporarily, that would help. Of course, we also have some very clear and specific roles that you can play. Email us at seattle@1millioncups.com. And please, next week, we are virtual in this space. Remember, mark your calendars every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Copy that link tree, put it in the recurring calendar event. You'll always have what you need to show up on time, ready to go. And next week, aim to bring a friend to the space to introduce them to this community. I know, for example, last week, I introduced my friend, Adrienne Clancy, who flew in from DC to visit us in Seattle. She actually had an amazing time. And not only did she have an amazing time, she had an opportunity to stand up in front of the room and introduce herself and the work that she's doing in building racial equity in the arts through dance by giving her little commercial in the, I guess it was the espresso round is what it was. So please, it's a great opportunity for your friends and colleagues to get connected to an awesome community. I can speak for that, for my friend, for sure. And again, save that link tree right there, linktr.ee/1MC Seattle. That's all the details you're gonna need. All right, and so I think with that, again, reminder, second Wednesday of the month. We are in person and virtual. Please RSVP via Meetup for that one, just so we know. We like to pay a little extra attention on who's coming so we can observe all the rules around health and wellness and monitor the space, etc. So I'm going to stop my screen share, and Dan, if you want to go ahead and send us off into our breakout rooms, that would be lovely. All right.